There is a prayer too. Urge the Senate to amend the Procurement Act.
Hello and welcome to your ever incisive, informative and awareness program from the National Assembly. This is the program that brings to you legislative happenings in the Senate and the House of Representatives within the week. I remain your regular host, Emmanuel Ehijile. Reactions have continued to trade the letter by former President Olusegun Obasanjo to the incumbent Muhammadu Buhari, where he took a swipe on the performance of his administration and advised the president to consider not running for the coming 2019 presidential election. Members of the House of Representatives extraction took the former number one citizen Olusegun Obasanjo to the cleaners as they unanimously condemned his letter asking President Muhammadu Buhari not to run for a second term come 2019. They were all unanimous in their views that as wonderful as some of his claims are in his letter to the president on the present state of the nation, he, Obasanjo, was part of those that installed Buhari and even went ahead to bury the party, the PDP, that gave him 2 terms as president. The lawmakers went ahead to accusing the former president for institutionalizing corruption through the introduction of Ghana Must Go bags into the National Assembly as bribe to lawmakers, and was also guilty of forcing himself to seek a 3rd term in office, whereas the Constitution only allows for 2 terms. As such, he has no moral right to advise anyone on integrity matters.
I mean, for somebody who has been there for 8 years and you want a 3rd term, not even going through the constitutional method. So what morality do you have to begin to play the role of a champion to Nigerians? Yes, Nigerians want something new, but I don't think that we should keep clapping our hands. You know, the problem with society is that when good people sit back and say nothing, they allow the bad people to continue to flourish and get all the accolades as if they are the champions. I think the good people of Nigeria, I think the clean persons in this country should begin to add their voice to politics. It is also a crime, I must say it. It is a crime against this country for those persons who have the competency, who have the moral standing to comment on issues and participate in public governance to keep quiet and do nothing.
The extent to which he has gone is something that will leave posterity to judge. And Muhammadu Buhari still has about a year and a half to continue to fight corruption. And I also believe by this clarion call, he will still have by extension 4 more years to fight corruption. So it's still not late. Mr. President is doing very well in the fight against corruption. And I think that is even why people like the likes of Obasanjo are now rising in the same semantics of while you fight corruption, corruption fights back. I think Obasanjo is fighting back because he's a corrupt person.
The lawmakers condemned the call for a 3rd force in the political space through his call for the formation of a new party to capture power from both parties who have ruled since 1999. They argue that the call is opposed to efforts so far to deepen the country's democracy, as others also advise the president to advise himself on his health challenges, since he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches.
Don't we all know? Have we not debated? Is there anything that he said in that letter that we have not even debated in the National Assembly here? Is it the headsmen? Is it the corruption? We have talked about the cabal. He didn't even mention the cabal. He didn't have the courage to mention the cabal there. We have spoken about the headsmen, the cabal, the nepotism. You all have written again about it. That look at the service chiefs, look at everybody there, they are all from his tribe. You have all, there's nothing he has said that has not been said or that's new. So the messenger and the message should just go. But we know the message is already in the public domain. And then he took a swipe at PDP. What he wants is a new party. We cannot deepen our democracy like that. You govern under PDP. They went to bring you out from jail to become the president of this country. You did 2 terms. You wanted a 3rd term. Now they frustrated. Since then you have been very bitter. You gave us the man that succeeded you, and the man that succeeded that one, and even the one that's in another platform entirely, the present one. Now you are saying do away with PDP, do away with APC, form another party. Where are the people going to come from?
It is not what people say. My people say, if I send you a message, it is good for you to resend yourself before you deliver the message. if whatever people are saying resonates with him, he should go back to his room, sit down and think about it. It is his final decision that counts. The buck stops at his table. So I pray that whatever decision that is going to be taken by him should be for the betterment of Nigeria and Nigerians.
The last hasn't been heard as more and more Nigerians have been reacting to the letter. But what is clear from these lawmakers is that retired generals who have helped plunge the country to its sorry state through their misrule over the years should remain retired and stay away from politics, as their advice is no more needed again. The House also in the week responded to the recent release of the timetable for the forthcoming 2019 general election by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The House voted unanimously for a change in the order of the elections. By the amendment to the Electoral Act, the National Assembly will hold first, while the governorship and state houses of assembly follows, with the presidential elections holding last. The House of Representatives has voted for a change in the order of the elections as proposed by the Independent National Electoral Commission ahead of the 2019 general elections. By its amendment to the Electoral Act, the National Assembly election will now hold first, while the governorship and state houses of assembly follows, with the presidential election coming last.
I wish to sincerely thank Mr. Chairman for bringing this committee together to look at every aspect of the Electoral Act, and today's work is going to conclude on this aspect. I hope that we will look at it diligently with a view to making the 2015 general election a hit-free, fair, 2019 general election a hit-free, fair, and a democratically accepted elections.
Clause 1 carried.
By the Commission's earlier arrangement, National Assembly and presidential elections are billed to hold first, but the legislators insist both elections must be on separate dates.
That any candidate who observes his name or that of his party missing on the list published in accordance with subsection 1 above shall notify the Commission in writing, signed by himself and supported with an affidavit not later than 21 days to the day of the election.
One other area of controversy is whether or not political parties' logo should be included on the nomination list, carrying party and candidates' names to be submitted to INEC.
Section 34 of the Principal Act is amended by adding a new subsection 2 and 3. That presupposes you're bound to have a subsection 1. Yes? And therefore, your primary original section 34 becomes 34.1. Are you with me? Yes? Now, therefore, if that becomes section 34.1, if you're following me, if you read that requirement at that 34.1, now back to the left column, the original clause, at that point, you've not asked the Commission to publish the name of the logo.
You're doing a call over. By the time you're doing that publication of name, why are we publishing names of candidates? Is to ensure that the candidates know their names are there. So if they know their names are there, they might as well know their logo and their party logo is properly represented. So it's like a call over. So at the point of election, there's really nothing anybody can do because it can happen. But let it be that INEC has an opportunity to correct errors before election.
By this proposal also, candidates for elections wishing to withdraw from the race are now to do so not later than 30 days to the poll, as elections finance was also increased by the committee. In all, the House considered and approved a total of 156 clauses as recommended by its Committee on Electoral and Political Party Matters. The approval, however, requires the concurrence of the Senate before being sent to the President for assent. Also in a similar vein, 2 bills for amendments were brought for public debate by the House of Representatives Committee on Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA. The aim, according to the House, is to strengthen the laws of road maintenance in the country, while also calling for synergy between the Ministry of Works and FEMA in ensuring safe and motorable roads in the country. Two bills to amend the FEMA, namely the Bill and Act to amend the Federal Road Maintenance Agency Act to restructure the agency and increase its funding, and the Bill for an Act to amend the FEMA Act to harmonize the Act with the Federal Highway Act with respect to the minister to grant road concession contract, commenced at the National Assembly on Tuesday. Declaring the one-day public hearing open, the Speaker, who was represented by the Majority Leader of the House, stated the importance of the bill, which according to him became expedient due to the bad state of roads across the country, which have posed danger to the citizenry and the need to fix them through appropriate laws and adequate funding.
As members of Parliament, it is beholding on us to ensure we discharge our duties of lawmaking and representation with the interests of the people of Nigeria we represent being paramount. It is always a personal pride to be part of hearings such as this, which aim at practically and positively impacting the lives of Nigerians. It is no secret that the state of Nigerian roads nationwide needs serious attention. The vast spread of these roads necessitates the need for FEMA to be adequately funded in order to effectively discharge its duties. It gladdens my heart, though, that the government of the day, being a proactive one, will not find it difficult to implement the positive reforms these amendment bills seek to effect in the discharge of FEMA's duties, and to ensure the concessionary powers of the Minister of Works are channeled to the good of the ordinary Nigerian.
The chairman of the committee also spoke in tandem with the Speaker, but called for FEMA's recognition by the Ministry of Works as partners in making roads and highways in the country motorable.
After the committee had undertaken several oversight functions to FEMA, and after crisscrossing the Nigeria roads network, it was evident that the House Committee could not stand akimbo and watch the critical roads of FEMA appear unimportant. From our oversight function point of views, and as the chairman of the House Committee on FEMA, let me make bold to say once more that in order to effectively discharge its duties, FEMA needs not only to be funded adequately, but also needs urgent debate, relief intervention, and possibly budget increment.
The Minister of Works, who also supervises the agency while speaking on the proposed amendment, kicked against allocating 1% from the consolidated account to the agency, while the Director General of FEMA insisted on some level of autonomy for the agency to enable it function effectively, unhindered, if it must deliver on its core mandate.
These provisions conflict with the Federal Highways Act, which is also an act of the National Assembly, which clearly vests powers of management, of tolling, and all other ancillary responsibilities with respect to construction, maintenance of highways in the minister for the time being responsible for works. Those powers are already clearly provisioned in the Federal Highways Act, another act of the National Assembly. So it would be, as it were, creating conflict within an agency that the ministry superintends to vest the power of the minister in that of the agency.
That, in short, has been the overriding objectives of all advocates of road sector reform. That is the bottom line of what the President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, my own president, has presented. And we have been consistent in the professional sector of saying the need for having an agency.
The proposed amendment, which have passed second reading, was brought for public hearing to enable stakeholders contribute before its final presentation to the Committee of the Whole. The aim is to address the carnage on major highways, which is often caused by bad roads, and to strengthen the operational and financial capacity of FEMA for effective service delivery. The House also in the week called for urgent revitalization and utilization of abandoned terminals and ports across the country. According to lawmakers, these multi-billion naira facilities that are scattered across the country amounts to waste and is costing the nation huge financial losses. A one-day public hearing to amend the Engineers Registration Act commenced at the House of Representatives on Monday, with Many stakeholders calling for the enabling laws that will ensure the regulation and practice of the engineering profession in the country, bothered by the high incidence of building collapse and road accidents across the country. It became imperative for an enabling law to regulate the engineering practice in the country. These were the views of the Speaker Yakubu Dogara, represented by the Deputy Speaker Lasu Yusuf and the Chairman, House Committee on Works at the hearing.
The bill is very critical because it underscores the importance of House of Representatives places on professionalism. The amendment seeks to promote and ensure the highest standard of professionalism in engineering practice in Nigeria. It is not in doubt that the engineering profession is central to development itself, as it touches our daily lives in many ways. As a matter of fact, I doubt that life itself will be in existence without engineering.
These objectives are to 1. Empower the Council to arrest and prosecute quacks in the practice of engineering. 2. Give oversight responsibility to the Council over companies engaged in engineering projects in Nigeria. 3. Enforce the regulations, rules, ethics, and codes of practice. 4. Register and license all engineering personnel and firms. 5. Include offenses and penalties as well as their enforcement. 6. Empower the Council to earn more revenue to fund these operations and activities to complement government funding. 7. Extend the mandate of the Council to include engineering regulation and monitoring.
Stakeholders, while commending the committee for putting together the public hearing, said the engineering profession is a unique one, stating that the aim of the bill is to seek the development of the country.
The law endows the Council with the powers to regulate and control the practice of engineering in Nigeria in all its aspects and ramifications, ensure that the engineering is practiced by industry and practitioners according to acceptable and prescribed standards and abiding by the ethics and canons of the profession.
And when you are driving a body of knowledge, there must be an incentive. If there's no incentive, everybody will just keep quiet. And this is what we want to be introduced, into the current law.
The aim of the hearing, according to the chairman, is to ensure that at the time the bill is presented for third reading, it will reflect a broad spectrum of stakeholders and will align with the global best practices. It is worthy of note that bad building design is responsible for the spate of building collapse, and poor road, which is responsible for claiming thousands of lives year in, year out. We shall be going on a short break and return with more reports. The House of Representatives in the week adopted a proposal for the establishment of a standing committee on conflict resolution. The aim, according to the mover of the motion, is to address the worrisome and lingering crisis like herdsmen, farmers clashes, militancy, communal clashes, and various border disputes which seem to have. The House of Representatives has adopted the motion on the need for the importance of the creation of a standing committee on conflict resolution to handle the instant cases of communal crisis, border disputes, herdsmen farmers attacks, militancy, and many others across the country. The motion was sponsored by Deputy Speaker of the House, Lasu Yusuf. While debating, he pointed on the need to create a specialized committee outside the existing ones, like the police and the DSS, to deal dispassionately on issues which threaten the existence of the country whenever the need arises.
We are in the third year of the fourth year of this tenure of the Assembly. And I'm also aware that traditionally, we always seek to amend our standing orders at the beginning of the tenure of each Assembly. And I'm also aware that there are other committees of the House that deal with security matters. But the issue of Nigeria in terms of conflict and security matters have been issues that have been talked about by so many different people who do not have organized system.
Lawmakers in supporting the motion says The motion is timely as it will serve as a veritable platform through which peace building and conflict can easily be resolved, especially at this period of crisis that has rocked the country.
Representing Mr. Speaker at the African Leaders Summit under the auspices of the Universal Peace Federation, where the role of Parliament in peace building and conflict resolution was a topical issue on the agenda of discourse. And therefore, issues of conflict resolution and peace building are now central and topical in our national discourse, given our quest to resolve the intractable issues of violent herdsmen attacks and all the critical issues.
Better to have members from every state and the Federal Capital Territory so that information about conflicts can get to the committee early enough, so that the committee will be as proactive as possible and be able to notify relevant security agencies.
But opposing the motion, some lawmakers observe that creating a standing committee on the conflict resolution will encroach on the functions of committees which have similar terms of reference. But the mover of the motion quickly corrected that fact and says they should toe the line of nationalism.
He said oversight of the Institute of Peace and Conflict Management. My dear colleagues, Peace and Conflict Management, Institute of Peace and Conflict Management was set up in February 2000 under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, so if you go ahead and create this committee that is being proposed here, you have a situation today, the Committee on Internal Security, Public Safety will come and complain that we have encroached, this committee has encroached on its jurisdiction. Committee on Police will come the next day and say the same thing.
But everybody knows that since 1960 in Nigeria, which is the second half of the First Republic of Nigeria, we've been having crisis. And so why, if in our generation, we cannot sit down and begin to provide solution? The only thing we know in Nigeria, if we want to talk about Nigeria, is to refer to Sardauna of Sokoto, refer to Tafawa Balewa, refer to Sikh, refer to Awolowo, refer to Aminu Kano, who amongst our own generation is being referred to in that context.
The motion was adopted and referred for another date when it will be fully debated and considered by the whole House before its final adoption. In a related development, the House has adopted a motion on the need to investigate the huge debt owed local indigenous companies by the international oil and gas companies, which according to lawmakers has led to the collapse of some of these companies. The motion, which was sponsored by Honorable Kingsley Chinda from Rivers State, says if the huge debt which runs into billions of dollars are not paid by the erring international oil and gas companies, it will not only lead to the complete collapse of these companies, but also job losses of immeasurable proportion, which will be dangerous for the economy.
Recently, we've been recording serious job loss or losses. And some of these things are due to avoidable circumstances, and this is one instance where local contractors will render services to international companies and they are owed, whilst these international companies repatriate these monies back to their own country to boost the economy. Rather than receive single petitions from these contractors every day, I think it is proper for us to look at it holistically. Where these debts are genuine, we take legislative steps to ensure that they are settled and also secure our own economy.
The motion was supported by Mohammed Gululu, who called for an ad hoc committee to be set up to quickly salvage the situation.
Leader, Honorable Chinda, to refer it to an ad hoc committee instead of the main committee.
The motion and amendment for an ad hoc committee to be set up to investigate and to recover the huge debts by the IOCs was also adopted by the House by unanimous voice vote. This is the size of our package for this episode. Join us next week for another interesting package of this program. I remain your host, Emmanuel Ehijene.
Those against say nay, there is a prayer too. Urge the Senate and the House of Representatives to amend the Procurement Act